Hello and welcome to Capture. I'm Jessie Gomez. Capture sat down with University President Jon Wallace, Executive Vice President David Bixby, and CFO Bob Johansen earlier this week for an exclusive interview regarding the changes to tuition for the 2015-2016 school year. We began with the letter sent out in March announcing the changes and the $1 million in additional funding reserved to aid returning students. Specifically, we were interested in this portion of the letter which states, "To assist with your planning, we set aside $1 million to assist returning students who may apply for these funds through One Stop." While the letter made an effort to detail the changes to tuition, many students were left confused, specifically about the $1 million in funding. After a visit with One Stop, we realized that although the funding was open for all students to apply, not all students are necessarily eligible. We asked administration to clarify.
A lot of people vet that letter, and we probably, as looking at it, could have been more clear. We felt like we were clear, but it did have the total amount of tuition there. So we do apologize for that not being as clear as probably it could have been. Like I said, we did have a lot of people vet it and check it, and we probably could have done a better job. We'll take that into account as we move forward, trying to bring clarity to students. So apologize for that if that was amiss.
So prior to this interview, we asked the student body to voice in their concerns and their confusions via social media. So we received many questions from our students via Twitter, via Facebook, and so we picked out one in particular by student Vienna Barnay, and she says, "Why is the $1 million in aid being offered only for students who've accepted all loans? And specifically, as we have looked into this, it's only for federal loans."
We're looking into that. We'll have a conversation with Todd Ross. We know that you had conversations with Todd and others and had a video interview as well. So we're going to have a conversation with Todd about that and look into that. So I don't have a clear answer for you on that, but I do promise you we're going to look into that and talk to Todd. So a concern for us as well.
To clarify, not all returning students qualify for the $1 million in additional funding. In order to be eligible, returning students must fill out an application provided by One Stop, have accepted all direct loans for the current 2014-2015 school year, meet financial need requirements as established by the university, and have completed FAFSA for the 2015-2016 school year. In addition, One Stop added, "We received well over 500 applications. Upon submission, all applications were carefully reviewed and scholarships were based on need. We encourage all students that are struggling with their finances to come to One Stop and meet with their account specialist to see if there are other options for their personal situation." Vice President Bixby followed up with Capture after the interview and wanted students to know, "All students may not walk out of One Stop getting all that they hoped for, but we will do our best to meet their needs." Many of you also wondered about the increase in academic scholarships offered to incoming freshmen and transfer students next fall. University CFO Bob Johansen tried to clarify. And so compared to returning students, next year's incoming students will be receiving an average of 52% more in academic scholarships. How would you respond to current students that feel this may be somewhat unfair?
I just thought I would address the 52% just a little bit, because looking at some of the academic awards that are being changed from this year to next year, for example, the highest award is the President's Award, and that is an increase of about 30%, so we might want to double check that 52% calculation. And also the average award for freshmen going up, the incoming class, the freshman incoming class from this current year's freshman to next year's freshman is about an 8.5% increase.
After our interview, Capture did check the number Johansen asked, and we found the average percent each academic scholarship offered to incoming students next year increased 49% from the current year, not 52% as stated in the interview. However, the 49% is an accurate average of the increases to each of the 6 academic scholarships offered to incoming freshmen and transfer students. After the interview, Johansen also mentioned, the 8.5% increase accounts for all institutional scholarships on campus. This includes academic scholarships, music scholarships, athletic scholarships, and many more. To end the interview, President Wallace was quick to note that the university feels a responsibility to ensure students receive an affordable education. Students have asked why tuition is not fixed at the amount it is the year they came in. Has a policy to fix tuition rates ever been considered? And so, what is the final decision?
Here's what we can promise. Every dollar given to the university, from a student through tuition, from a donor through a check that they write. And we have a lot of faithful donors who help underwrite tuition for students. Every dollar that comes is stewarded to the best we can. We consider that our highest standard, that we spend money that belongs to God for the benefit of Christian higher education. We work for that day when the costs don't go up, but they come down. That's not going to be the case this year. But it is always a challenging decision to pass on the costs of private higher education to students and their parents.
Thank you to President Jon Wallace, CFO Bob Johansen, and Executive Vice President David Bixby for sitting down with us. And now for a look at sports with John Root.
Thanks, Jesse. APU has quite the busy weekend in sports. The softball team, who was on a 4-game win streak, hosted a doubleheader against rival Cal Baptist this coming Saturday. The Cougs fell to the Lancers the last 2 times they faced CBU in Riverside. The 24-19 Cougars hope to write a different story this Saturday at noon in Azusa. The Cougars baseball team took their 24-10 record to San Diego on Tuesday. This was a big game for the Cougars versus UC San Diego, as they had a chance to solidify a position in the West Regional playoffs. The top 6 teams will advance to the West Region Championship in May. We walked into the game tied for the 5th seat with Cal State LA. Unfortunately, the Cougars fell short to the Tritons 19-2. Hopefully the gentlemen can get back on their feet and build their way up the rank again with their 5-game road trip to Holy Names. Our water polo girls triumphed over CBU with a score of 9-8 last Thursday. This was the first win that APU had against CBU in water polo history. Alba Espinar scored 5 of the 9 goals for the Cougars and was named Player of the Week by the Gold Coast Conference. Espinar looks to keep up the hard work in this Friday's match in San Diego against San Diego State. Speaking of baseball, this Tuesday was opening day for the MLB, and 2 former APU baseball players, and they made their way into the starting lineups. Catcher Stephen Vogt started for the Oakland A's this week, and outfielder Kirk Neumanheis started for the New York Mets. Looking forward to a great season ahead for those 2. Jesse, back to you.
Thanks, John. A lot going on for APU athletes all over this week. Shifting to international news, this past Tuesday night, hundreds of mourners gathered in Nairobi, Kenya to remember the 147 people who lost their lives in last Thursday's Garissa University shooting massacre. The Al-Shabaab militant group claimed responsibility for the attack that killed the university students. Kenyan authorities have not yet released a list of the victims' names, but mourners emphasize the remembrance of these young students as individuals rather than numbers in the death count. The victims are commemorated worldwide with the hashtag 147, not just a number. The jury reached a verdict yesterday in the trial of the man accused of the Boston Marathon bombing. The jury found 21-year-old Joe Karsharnaev guilty on all 30 counts, including 17 that could lead him to receive the death penalty. It took the jury 11.5 hours of deliberation to reach the final verdict in the case. The trial now goes to the sentencing phase. And now in news closer to home, the California governor has ordered water use to be cut by 25% statewide in every city and municipality. Jerry Brown visited the Sierra Nevada mountains, where there was hardly any snow, to announce the historic measures and illustrate his point. The mountains you see on the screen are usually 66 inches deep at this point in the year. Governor Brown stated, "Today we are standing on a dry grass where there should be 5 feet of snow. I am issuing an executive order mandating substantial water reductions across the state." 70 million gallons of water were used this past year for access to oil and gas. Brown believes that if California can prevent wasteful water use, streamline the state's drought response, and invest in new technologies, we could resist drought problems for the future. This past Tuesday, APU held its first independently organized TEDx event. Hosted by Dr. Ryan Montague and Dr. Brooke Van Dam, this year's TEDx theme highlighted inspiring ideas and meaning. Talks from APU's faculty and alumni range on a variety of subjects, from Dr. Jim Dacian discussing street art as a global movement to Olympian gold medalist Brian Clay explaining how to run your own race. Each talk left audience members inspired. For those who weren't able to attend the event, videos of each talk will be available on the TEDx website within the coming weeks. One of the TEDx speakers is also celebrating the launch of a new book entitled Teams That Thrive. Dr. Ryan Hartwig's 5-star rated book helps readers learn how to create successful team dynamics within a church.
It's really all about how to do leadership teams well. So there are some teams that are struggling along. There are other teams that are doing well, but maybe not doing quite as well as they possibly could do. And so we did a ton of research. We studied over 250 churches and learned a lot about what the great teams are doing. And then we tried to put all of that knowledge that we learned into this book.
Congratulations, Dr. Hartwig, on your success. Who says you have to wait until Thursday to throw back? Wednesday, April 15th, pick up your copy of Collide's last issue of the year, the Throwback issue. Read stories about reboots and remakes, the generational culture war, and much more.
Please remember to like our page on Facebook and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at APU Capture.
Thank you for watching this edition of Capture.